At a wedding we attended, my wife danced with her male best friend all night while ignoring me. When someone asked if she was married, she said, "Not really. It doesn't count when he's boring." They laughed. I just watched. The next morning, she woke up alone. So my marriage ended last Saturday night. There was no big fight, no yelling, no plates being thrown. It ended with a laugh. Her laugh. A fake, nasty little sound in a fancy hotel ballroom that told me everything I needed to know. Let's back up. I'm Tom. My wife, well, ex-wife now I guess, is Olivia. We were married for 4 years. On the surface, things probably looked fine. Good house, nice cars, the whole deal. But underneath, the foundation was shot. I've known it for about a year. I'm a pretty observant guy. I notice things. And what I noticed was Ben. Ben is her male best friend, her brother. For the first few years, I tried to be the cool, trusting husband. I told myself that their history was just that, history. But in the last year, after we got married, something changed in her. The sense of entitlement grew, and her respect for me seemed to shrink in direct proportion. The red flags went from small, fluttering things in the distance to giant, flapping banners right in my face. It was the constant texting. The phone angled away from me whenever he messaged. It was the way she'd bring him up in every conversation, comparing my choices to what Ben would have done. The moment I knew I had to start planning my exit was about 8 months ago. We were planning a trip for our anniversary. I had spent weeks researching a quiet cabin in the mountains, the kind of peaceful getaway I knew we both used to love. When I showed her the pictures, she seemed underwhelmed. The next day, she came to me with a new plan. Ben was saying we should go to that new resort on the coast instead. It's supposed to be amazing. It wasn't a suggestion. It was a decision she had already made with him. My plans were irrelevant. We went to the resort. I spent 4 days watching her text him pictures of the view. That's when I realized I wasn't being a cool husband. I was being a placeholder, a provider, the boring, reliable infrastructure for the exciting life she was living with other people. So I stopped being a doormat. I just did it quietly. I'm not the type to make big dramatic scenes. That's her arena. I'm a planner. I started making preparations. The first call was to a lawyer, a sharp guy my friend recommended. I had a 90-minute consultation just to understand my rights and liabilities. The house was in my name, bought and paid for before I met her. That was the most important thing. He advised me on how to protect my other assets. The next day, I started moving my money. I opened a new set of bank accounts at a different bank. I began diverting most of my income there, leaving just enough in our shared accounts to keep up appearances. I was building an escape route, brick by brick. I knew I was going to need it. I just didn't know when. The wedding last Saturday was the final straw. It was for her friend from college. A huge, expensive party. Olivia was in heaven. She loves a crowd, an audience. She had bought a new dress for the occasion, one that she casually mentioned was a bit pricey, and put on our joint card. She spent the entire night attached to Ben's arm, laughing loudly, making a spectacle of themselves on the dance floor. She basically ignored me, and I let her. I wasn't there to fight for her attention. I was there to observe, to gather the final pieces of data I needed. I had a feeling the night was going to be important. Around 10, I was standing near the bar, talking to the groom's uncle. She was with Ben and a few other people I didn't know. I saw some woman point at Olivia's wedding ring and ask if she and Ben were married. Instead of just saying no and pointing to her actual husband standing 20 feet away, Olivia put on a show. She laughed this high, fake laugh and said, "Oh, I'm married, but not to Ben, unfortunately." Then she leaned in, all conspiratorial, and said, "Not really anyway. It doesn't count when he's boring." The group laughed, a polite but definitely condescending laugh. And that was it. No anger, no big explosion in my chest. Just a quiet, cold feeling of absolute certainty. It was the confirmation I had been waiting for. This wasn't a marriage, it was a joke, and I was the punchline. I didn't say a word, I just gave her a little nod from across the room. A nod that she probably interpreted as me being attentive. But it wasn't. It was a nod of acknowledgement, a final message received. I turned around, walked out of that ballroom without looking back, and went up to our hotel room. The party was over, my marriage was over. It was time to execute the plan. Update 1. The first thing I did in that hotel room was take off my wedding ring. I set it on the dresser and just looked at it for a minute. It felt like taking off a costume. Then I packed my bag. Every movement was calm, deliberate. I wasn't acting on emotion. I was following a procedure I had been mentally rehearsing for months. I was a man executing a plan, nothing more. I checked out of the hotel, got my car, and drove home. No music, just silence. The 40-minute drive was the most peaceful I had felt in a long time. The mental weight of pretending, of swallowing the constant low-grade disrespect, was finally gone. I got to the house around 11:30. My house. The first thing on my checklist was to secure the property. I walked straight to the smart home control panel in the kitchen. I went into the user settings and found her profile. 2 clicks. Deleted. Her access code was gone. Her key fob was deactivated. I went to the garage and manually changed the entry code. In the space of about 5 minutes, she was a stranger to my home, physically locked out. Next, I cut off the money. I sat down at my desk and logged into our joint bank account. It was the account I kept funded for her monthly spending, her car payment, her shopping, her lunches with friends. The balance was a few $1,000s. I transferred every penny to my personal account. Then I logged into my main credit card account. She had a supplementary card that she used as her own personal expense account. I went through the recent charges, the dress for the wedding, a spa day with Ben's sister, a new set of luggage for a girls' trip she was planning. I reported her card as stolen. The account was frozen instantly. The financial support system was gone. Then came the hard part. Her stuff. All of it. I had a huge stack of new flat-packed moving boxes in the garage that I'd bought for this exact purpose. I spent the next 3 hours systematically erasing her from my home. I wasn't angry or sad. I felt a strange sense of detachment, like I was an estate manager clearing out the belongings of a person who had moved on. I cleared out her massive walk-in closet, her side of the bathroom vanity, her home office space, every piece of clothing, every shoe, every bottle of expensive junk. I was systematic. I sealed each box with tape and stacked it neatly in the garage. The house started to feel like mine again. It was quiet. It was orderly. At 3 a.m., I sent a 2-word email to my lawyer. File it. Then I went to bed and slept soundly for the first time in a year. The calls started the next morning. First, a cheerful, oblivious one from the hotel. She thought I'd left for work. An hour later, an angry, confused one. Her card was declined when she tried to pay for her and Ben's room service breakfast. An hour after that, pure panic. She was on the front porch and her key wasn't working. I decided to answer that one. Tom, what is going on? I'm locked out, she screamed. I know, I said. What do you mean, you know? This isn't funny. Let me in. No, I said, my voice completely flat. I heard what you said last night, Olivia. I heard you tell everyone your marriage doesn't count because I'm boring. So consider this me making your life a little more exciting. You're free now. You don't have a boring husband anymore. And you don't have his boring house either. She started denying it, of course. It was a joke. I was being crazy. I had misunderstood. It doesn't matter, I said. It's done. All your things are in 42 boxes in the garage. A moving company is coming tomorrow to take them to a storage unit. I paid for 3 months. I'll text you the info when it's done. The bank account is empty. The credit card is canceled. The divorce papers will be served on Monday. We're finished. I could hear Ben in the background, telling her I was bluffing, telling her I was just being dramatic. He had driven her home, her knight in shining armor. You can't do this, she cried. I already did, I said. Have a nice life. I hung up and blocked both their numbers. Phase 1 was complete. Update 2. Of course, they didn't just accept it. People like Olivia and Ben never face consequences quietly. They have to create a narrative where they are the victims. For a few hours, they just lingered. My security camera caught them trying the doors, Ben posturing and trying to look tough for the camera. It was pathetic. He even tried to shoulder check the front door once before apparently realizing it was solid wood and he wasn't in a movie. The next day, when the movers came, they sat across the street in Ben's car and watched the whole thing. I made a point of going out to get the mail, then spent about 20 minutes weeding my front garden bed, just ignoring them completely. My total lack of reaction seemed to infuriate them more than anything else. I could feel their eyes on me, but I refused to give them the satisfaction of a confrontation. With the direct approach failing, they pivoted to a campaign of information warfare. This was Olivia's area of expertise. Within a day, the whispers started. I was the villain, the jealous, controlling husband who couldn't handle her having a male friend. The story they concocted was that I'd had a breakdown at the wedding, imagined things, and flew into a violent rage, kicking her out of her home. It was a well-crafted story, and some people bought it. The first direct hit came from Olivia's mother. She left me a long, tearful voicemail about how disappointed she was in me, how Olivia was a wreck, and how I needed to be a man and fix the mess I had made. I saved the voicemail, but didn't reply. Then I got texts from some of Olivia's aunts, angry, accusatory messages. I was a monster. I was abusive. They were going to make sure everyone knew the truth. They were trying to isolate me, They didn't realize I had already isolated them. I knew I needed proof. Hard proof. A wedding is a public event, and in 2025, everything is filmed. I didn't want to deal with the official videographer. I thought about who would have the most footage. The bride's younger cousin, a girl named Maya. She had been glued to her phone all night, filming everything for her Instagram. I found her online and sent her a message. I told her I was putting together a little memory book for the bride and groom and that I'd love to get her clips from the reception. She was happy to help. She sent me a link to a folder with all her videos. I spent an hour going through them, and then I found it. A video of some people on the dance floor. But in the background, perfectly framed and perfectly audible, was the conversation at the bar. The woman asking the question. Olivia's high-pitched, fake laugh. And her voice crystal clear, saying, "Not really anyway. It doesn't count when he's boring." It was my silver bullet. I clipped the video. Just that 10-second piece. I wasn't going to post it for the world to see. That wasn't the plan. The plan was surgical. I sent a group text. The recipients were a very specific list of people. The bride and groom, Olivia's parents, her sister, and Ben's long-term girlfriend, Emily. I had her number from a dinner party. The text was short. "I know you've all been hearing a lot of stories. I just want the truth to be clear. This is a clip from the wedding on Saturday. The audio is what's important. This is why my marriage is over." I attached the video and hit send. Then I put my phone on silent and went for a long walk. Final update. It's been 6 months. The divorce is final. My lawyer said it was one of the quickest he'd ever seen. A video of your wife publicly renouncing your marriage tends to remove all her bargaining power. The video didn't just end my marriage, it ended their whole world. The bride and groom were furious with Olivia for creating such a toxic drama at their wedding and cut her off completely. They even sent me a separate apology, which was a classy move. Her parents were the real tea. They are obsessed with their public image, and the video of their daughter behaving so crassly was the ultimate humiliation. The story I heard was that they confronted her with the video, and when she couldn't deny it, they completely withdrew their support, both emotional and financial. The lawyer she had hired on their dime was promptly fired. She was told to get a job and stand on her own 2 feet for the first time in her life. Ben got the worst of it. His girlfriend, Emily, was a firestorm. She didn't just dump him, she went public. She posted the video clip on her own social media, tagging both of them. She wrote a long post about the years of lies and disrespect. She torched them. The story went viral in our social circle. Their smear campaign against me was instantly forgotten, replaced by a public shaming of them. I also heard from a friend that Emily's father, who's a prominent local businessman, made a few calls. Ben's sales career, which relied heavily on reputation and networking, is now in shambles. Olivia's life, from what I've pieced together, has completely imploded. She has no money, her parents are barely speaking to her, and her friends have scattered. Ben, now a social outcast, wants nothing to do with her. She had to get a job as a waitress to support herself. She's living in a small apartment with 3 roommates. The exciting life she thought she was entitled to is gone. I sold the house. I wanted a fresh start. I bought a smaller place, a condo downtown with a great view. It's my space. It's quiet. But the best revenge wasn't kicking her out. It was simply showing people the truth. She and Ben built their entire relationship on a foundation of lies and disrespect. All I did was hold up a mirror. They couldn't stand the reflection. She called me boring. Maybe I am. But my life is stable. It's honest. It's peaceful. Her life, the one she chose, is a chaotic mess. She woke up alone in that hotel room, but the truth is, she'd been alone in our marriage for a long time. I just finally made it official.